guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Sarah, also known as Laugh Love Langella, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys a super budget-friendly way that we added just a little bit of character into our entryway space. Ever since we moved in, we've had very plain white walls. The house really needed a full paint job and I wasn't ready to make different decisions for each space. It's easier to just paint everything the same color, give it a nice refreshed look, and then we can go back and just add in little bits here and there to make the spaces more of our own. So we did some picture molding in our entryway space to just give a little bit of texture and visual interest. It was super budget friendly as well. This was less than $100 to do the entryway space for our house, and we're super happy with how it turned out. So if you'd like to see how we made this happen, let's get right into it.
Okay, so off to Lowe's we go. They had so many different trim options, so no matter what your style preference is or what you're looking to do in your space, they have an option for you. I went for this thinner one so that it wasn't a super chunky look. I ended up in total using 15 boards for our space. So what I did to help myself better visualize for like spacing and such is I just took the boards, and took a rough measurement, this is not perfect, and taped them up on the walls using some other painter's tape so I could really visualize where it was actually going to land in relation to the table and the corners with each other. So that way we can make sure before any cuts were made that this was going to line up accurately. So what I figured out for spacing, the top right here, this is 5 inches. So I want to mimic that line going across. So I'm gonna have a 5-inch gap on the tops as well as the bottoms. And then most people do 3.5 inches here. For how it was measuring out for me, I preferred 4 inches. So that is what I'm going to be doing from the sides. So each of the sides will be 4 inches, as well as the difference between the two boxes. So I got this really awesome skinny board from Lowe's. And then in an effort to make this easier, they sell these miter shears, and you can have a perfect 45-degree angle. We'll use the level on the walls, make sure everything's lined up, and use a brad nailer to tack them on. So obviously, before the fun can begin of trimming and brad nailing and such, we're going to clear off everything in the entryway space so that there are no casualties during this project. So before I take off this taped up trim molding, I'm just double checking what the rough measurement is for the top of the bottom box, and mine landed right at 36 inches. So that way I know what height I need to go for each of the walls, and then for the bottom of the top box, I'll just measure 4 inches up from that line.
So now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the side of the wall 4 inches in and make a mark, and do another one a little higher up, and then I'll take my level and I will draw a line, so that way when I have my cuts, I will know exactly where I want the edge of it to be lining up here, and do the same from the bottom up. And what you'll see here is that this line is actually different than this one because the wall itself is not straight. So I'm putting these as a guide, and then I'm putting the level on so it's actually straight on the wall.
After having had completed this project, now as I'm editing this video, I will say that this is a step I would never skip. It was absolutely worth taking the time to do this to make the project run that much smoother when we were going up with the brad nails. But now I'm repeating the same process that I did on the sides, but again, I'm changing my measurement to that 5 inches for the bottom. Okay, so that was quite the lengthy process, but it's going to save us a lot of time for knowing where everything's going to go. So as you can see, I have marked both boxes, both the top and the bottom, and that way we know exactly the spacing for where the edge of the trim is going to be sitting. So now we are moving on to the fun part of actually putting up this trim molding. The way that you need to cut it is you want your angle going in towards the smaller edge rather than the larger one. You want your larger edge to be sitting on the outside. Once we had the trim piece cut to size, we lined it up on one corner and put in a brad nail, and then grabbed the level to ensure that it actually was level, and then continued brad nailing it into the wall. So then we repeated those same steps for the sides and top. We found it easiest to work from the bottom up of each box, but I just wanted to say a quick tip. Make sure you are scooting the level up as you are brad nailing, because this trim is smaller, it is flexible. So you want to make sure it's straight the entire way. Okay, so now we have all of the trim molding done. We did the 3 walls in the entryway. And then we also did this wall here, so that way it would flow around the corner a little bit better. This is behind our couch. So now we're gonna go in, and I'm gonna fill in all these nail holes and caulk all the seams. Caulking is one of those things that is such a tedious process, but creates such a finished, clean look to a project. It's absolutely necessary. Never skip it if you're doing this type of trim molding project. It is so worth the time and effort to do it. It did take me a few hours, to say the least. My son was watching Spider-Man, so I was able to sit watching it too, so that definitely made it worth it. Also, be sure not to cut the tip too large. I did by accident, and it was unfortunately dumping product out. I ended up grabbing a piping tip and taping it to my caulking gun to make it smaller. So if you run into that issue, you could always do that as well. Okay, so now everything is all caulked up, and I'm gonna go in with some primer on the wood and the caulking, and then we'll give it all a fresh coat of paint. I just wanted to say a quick thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel today. I love being able to share our home and projects and all the decorating ideas with you guys. If this is your first time here, I would love it if you would subscribe and join my YouTube family. And if you are enjoying this DIY video, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up. Spoiler alert, love how this project turned out, and I will definitely be recreating this in another space in our home. But I just wanted to say a quick thank you so much for tuning into my channel today. Another day, another outfit change for this project. All in all, it took us 3 days to complete. It would have only taken 2 if I had grabbed enough trim my first trip to Lowe's, but I didn't. It happens. I ended up doing 1 coat of primer and 2 coats of paint on the trim, and I actually gave a fresh coat of paint to the walls as well, just to make sure everything looked nice, fresh, and clean. Our wall color is Snowbound by Sherwin-Williams, and we absolutely love it. And here is the finished project of the wall trim. I really think that it makes such a beautiful impact in this space without being too loud. It's always nice to add some texture to the walls. This was a super budget friendly option too. This was under $100 to do all of the wall trim. It went just slightly over because I had to buy the miter shears. You could obviously use a miter saw. I was just trying to make this
as budget friendly and DIY friendly as possible, so that way if you don't own a miter saw, you can always get the shears instead. But now we're gonna put everything back together.
And here is the space all finished. I absolutely love the addition and what this did to adding a lot of texture to our walls. We did opt actually to carry it around to this wall. This is behind our couch, and I'm so glad that we did. We did have to do a little bit of an interesting line here because of how our molding sits, but you could always opt to just go straight down and straight to the side. We just wanted a more custom look, and I'm so glad that we did that. I will say too, having the 4-inch space on the sides and in between made it so easy to take the roller to just give it a really smooth finish. But I'm super happy with what this did, adding to the space.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel today. I sure hope that you enjoyed today's video and got some ideas for what you might be able to do to your home to add just a little bit of character without breaking the bank. If you are interested in seeing how I actually decorated our entryway space, I have a video dedicated to that that will be linked down below in the video description. As always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me here today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.